All right, today I was reading the New York Times magazine, and on the front cover it said, "Is America Islamophobic?" Maybe they need a history lesson or something, but we have every right to be Islamophobic. First of all, let me put it this way. The followers of Muhammad and believers in Allah, there's no race. They're not all black, they're not all Japanese, they're not Chinese, they're not anything. They're just Muslims. And they're from every color, every race, and almost every nation. But there's a difference, see? The thing is that Muslims follow the Quran. It's not a political ideology. It's religious. And you can't look into a man's heart and tell what he's thinking. But you can tell a fruit by the tree that it falls off of. An apple comes off an apple tree. A pear comes off a pear tree. Grapes come off of a grapevine. Historically, if you look at the Muslim religion and how it began and where it's going throughout history, you find violence and bloodshed, decapitations. You find girls getting acid thrown in their face because they're seen in public with someone who's male and not of their own family members. They get their noses cut off and their ears cut off. We had 2 teenage girls in this country get shot while dialing 911, screaming to their father to stop. Their father killed them, and that man is still at large. He was a Muslim. Several years ago, there was a girl who got a job at a McDonald's. She wanted to buy her own clothes. And in honor killing, her mother held her down, and her father stabbed her 17 times while the FBI listened to this mother and father, and I say that very loosely, murdered their daughter. All the while the mother saying, "Quiet, darling, quiet." An honor killing. What about our soldiers in Iraq? 5 of them are dead today because a Muslim soldier, supposedly in an American uniform, kills them because he didn't like what his commanding officer asked him to do. And what about in Texas? A supposed army officer who had ties to radical Islam killed several unarmed fellow, quote-unquote, fellow soldiers. And nobody has done anything. The man should be dead, but he's not. Our anti-American AFL, CIO, and the ACLU are protecting this dude. They got him lawyered up. For what? He should be in a military trial, and military justice should be handed out to him. He's a traitor to his own country. Secondly, this Cordoba Mosque in New York City, Ground Zero, is an insult. It's a travesty. It shouldn't be done. But everywhere Muslims have had a victory over their infidel or Christian enemy, they've built a mosque to commemorate it. Let's not forget history. And it's a long history. Don't do it. I'm going to read a letter that I wrote to the Times that for some reason the email didn't go through, but I'm going to read this letter, and I want you all to hear it so that the Times can't say that I didn't send it or whatever, but this needs to be said. The ground, the soil, the streets, the buildings, the air around Ground Zero have been made sacred by the dust of the fallen of 9/11. You must remember that many bodies were not found because they were reduced to ash by the intense heat of the fire or were pulverized by the weight of the concrete slabs coming together. As the buildings pancaked down floor by floor, The remains of New York's finest is blowing in the air around every corner of the area around Ground Zero. Protect and serve? They did. Are you New York Times magazines? Are you protecting us and serving us? Have you forgotten that Muslims bombed the Trade Center from below on a number of occasions? Don't you remember looking at the world televisions and watched with horror as the Muslim Islamists danced in the streets and burned American flags after 9/11? Do you remember how Al Jazeera magazine allowed imams and mullahs to comment about how the great Satan has gotten what was coming to them? Muslims have no patriotic duty to any country they inhabit. They only care about the advancement of Islam and its laws. The sorry thing is they use our laws and the anti-American ACLU lawyers to do it. Don't forget the Muslim snipers that killed randomly from the west of our great nation to the south, finally being caught asleep in an Eastern Turnpike rest area. Don't forget the Muslim soldiers that killed their comrades in Iraq and Texas. How many honor killings have been committed on American soil since the Muslims were allowed to come to this country? I'll remind you of two. A young girl stabbed 17 times by her father and held down by her mother while the FBI recorded the whole thing. Two teenagers' sisters who called 911 on their cell phone while the operator listened to them scream at their father to stop it as he shot them repeatedly. Am I Islamophobic? You bet. And I hope that every true American ought to be. Say no to this Cordoba mosque and every mosque in every city in the nation of the United States of America. Say no to Islam.